Hello and welcome to another episode of the Choose Strong podcast. I am so happy that you pushed play today because guess what? We have the people's man, Mr. Eddie McCrae, on the show with us. Welcome, Eddie. Welcome back.
Hey, great to be here, and let's get this show started.
Let's get this show started. I will say that ever since the time that Eddie and I met when we were in college, when we were 18 years old, one of the things that we do very well is distract each other. In fact, we started going to the library together. I mean, we had 4 classes together our freshman year, right?
Yes.
And we were also soccer players.
Yes.
So I met you before school even started because all the athletes were in school training. The men's and women's soccer teams were always kind of around each other. We always had gatherings and dinner at night during Hell Week. I remember seeing you, and then suddenly you were in 4 of my classes. So from the time we were 18 years old, we have spent a lot of time together. But I distinctly remember you and I walking into the library on many occasions and seeing other students flee the desk or table from where they were working when they would see us coming. Mm-hmm. Why was that? Can you just explain as we open up this podcast? This is our intro, by the way.
I think is probably because of how loud you are and how loud your laugh is.
Not just me.
No, that's 95% of the reason why they left.
So all that to say, had many papers that were turned in last minute, projects, homework. I mean, we got pretty much good grades, I think, in college. Did we?
I think so. It was a while ago, but I think I didn't fail.
Here we are.
Here we are.
No one's asked about our GPAs in college. I mean,
thankfully.
When was the last time someone wanted to know your GPA for college?
From college? I don't know if I've ever been asked that.
Ever.
Right?
Like,
maybe my dad.
Is it a great lie that when you're hired for any career, like they just want to know you have a degree? Do they want to know? I mean, maybe that's just because we
careers.
Like we weren't doing high level jobs, I guess.
Yeah, when you're a teacher, they're like, oh, you want to teach?
Please,
we don't care
when
where
you start?
We don't even care if you went to college.
Whatever. You have a master's degree in teaching. You're a great teacher. That's something not a lot of people know. You were an elementary school teacher. What grades did you teach, Eddie?
Oh, let's see. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, no 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yep.
And 1 year of special ed with some high school kids.
With some high school kids. So pretty much all the grades.
Yeah, except for 6th. I don't know if for some reason I didn't do 6th grade, but yeah.
I think you taught at several schools.
Yeah.
Several schools because of the way the California school system was while you're teaching. It was like every region was like dwindling away, so they had to keep on shifting you. But I just remember every principal being so sad when you left because you were like the one guy on campus.
Yeah, right?
I was a high school teacher, and Eddie would always tell me about all the women he was working with, and I was like, no, I just can't do the all-female staff. Like, I don't know how you do it. Eddie can work with an all-female staff way better than me. I need a mix.
Yeah,
I like a good mix. And high school is a good mix. High school is a good mix of men and women, and you got sports teams and all that stuff. And Eddie was cleaning up kids who'd peed their pants and little kids sticking pencils up their noses.
It's pretty accurate.
Oh my gosh. So this podcast is beginning this way.
Yeah.
This is the best intro ever. Other podcasts start with like 4 sponsors that are sponsoring the show, which, by the way, if you do want to sponsor the show, the best way to do it is to download our app. You can do that by clicking in the show notes. Download the Sally McCrae Strength app. It is the best way to support all the work we do. So we have a YouTube channel, Sally McCrae Strength. We are releasing, by the way, another 200-mile documentary on Tahoe 200. I'm so excited about that. And it will be out in the next couple weeks before I run Moab 200. So if you're listening to this later on, before October 13th, 2023, that film will be out. I'm really excited about it. And then we're going to be working on a film for Moab as well. So this has been the year of documentaries and filming, and it's been super fun. So we do films. We have the app. We have this podcast. The book. The book is another great way that you can support us. The first in my memoir series called Choose Strong is out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can get it on Audible and Kindle. So we just really appreciate your support, and everyone that's in the Choose Strong community Facebook page. I mean, that page is incredible. If you need like a pick-me-up, some encouragement, you want to meet a friend, be a part of our community on Facebook, because it's such an encouraging community. Strong mind, strong body, strong love. You're going to experience that there. One of my favorite things is when someone says they're planning to do a race, and then all these people are chiming in, wait, I'm doing that too. I'm doing that too. And it's kind of cool. And then people end up meeting each other and making friends at that race. And that's been fun for me as I've traveled around the country. People will come up to me and they're like, Choose Strong community. I'm like, heck yeah. So it's been really neat. And yeah, we thank you so much wherever you are as you listen to this podcast. We consider you family, our friends, and we really appreciate you, and we are glad that you are here today. Eddie, do you want to intro? Let's go ahead and just dive into our episode today. What are we talking about today? Why are you here?
Why am I here? Great
what
question.
What are you doing?
That's question number one. What are you doing here? Today is, just a Q&A. So you asked people to, ask some questions.
To my demise, I did.
You got quite a few. And so
I think on Instagram alone, between the direct messages, and then just the questions and the comments, I think we got close to 500. And then we got some on the Facebook page, and then even through email. So
so we're going to answer a few of those, and then
few.
might have to do another episode to cover the others.
We definitely will. We'll always weave these in and out. We love hearing from the community, and we genuinely care about the things you care about. It's been, I think, between, the two of us, Eddie and I have been like so blessed to be able to be in many different leadership positions, both in sport, in school, as counselors, as coaches, and we've been around different people of all walks of life. And it's really neat to be able just to share the things that we've learned and shared our shared experience. And some of these things are just part of our expertise. And so we really love any opportunity we can to share and guide and encourage people as best we can. So some of these questions are fun.
Yeah, there are quite a few light, fun ones.
Some of them are a little bit meatier.
Mm-hmm. Meatier.
Yeah.
Yep.
Meatier. Meaty.
That's a nutrition questions are meatier. Get that? All right. Let's just go. All right. Okay. So the first one, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
This one, I'm going to just do it first just because the NFL season is upon us. Which NFL team is the best, and why is it the 49ers? I don't know if I completely agree with this.
I'm thinking this is a Jason Humes question.
This is
a Jason Humes question.
We'll skip that one. Let's skip that one. This one's a nutrition, probably a nutrition question. What's your favorite donut flavor?
Wow. Okay. Donuts are like, I can give up anything, but if you tell me that I have to give up donuts, it's going to be a really hard life for me.
So what's your favorite flavor?
Well, if I have to choose from like the place that I love getting them, which is Sidecar. That's my favorite place to go through.
What if you're just going to your like basic?
I'm just going to like Winchell's.
Just your basic mom and pop like that says donut store.
Yeah.
Like what are you getting when you get in there?
Yeah, there's a hole in the wall in the strip malls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm either looking at a maple old fashioned.
Ooh.
Chocolate old fashioned's good too. Chocolate or maple old fashioned. I'm looking at the glazed donut, like glazed twist. Okay. And believe it or not, I do love like the powdered lemon filled, which I don't meet a lot of people that like that one.
That's gross. That is gross. That's a waste of donut.
All all of them.
All the above.
All dozen.
Yeah. Yeah. It said, what's your favorite? Not like, give me a list of the top 10.
With anything. I don't know if I know how to give my favorite of anything. People are like, what's your favorite race? I'm like, seriously? I run on every continent. Like, how do you even break that down? How do you break down your favorite race? When everywhere you run is just like stunningly beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like, I think Badwater is beautiful, but it's a little bit different than running UTMB, you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry I couldn't give a number one there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's do one more kind of.
Let's go ahead and pause. I'm going to ask you a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're turning the tables right here because the people want to hear from you, Ed. And this is from a guy in our community. He's asking, what's a good way of making a guy run and train more? You and I were just talking about training today because people ask often if you run ultras, and I say, thankfully you don't.
Yeah.
Like that, it is hard when couples both run ultras.
And I say, thankfully I don't.
Right?
Yeah. So we have the same answer on that one.
When Eddie's crewing, he's like, dear God, I'm so happy I'm not doing this. No, it has been like, there's balance there. And I know like when I'm racing, I always have that support too. But one thing that I have always appreciated about you is that you do enjoy staying in shape and being fit and going to the gym and lifting. You usually sign up for half marathons as a way to just kind of keep yourself on track and to have that goal. I appreciate your hard work. I mean, it just like has an effect on our whole family and our life. But I have noticed over the years, for as long as we've been together, you like to change up your training plans and goals quite a bit too. Yeah. And you're always trying to find like a different thing. We literally were talking about this morning. You're like, all right, so usually I go to the gym at this time, but I really want to zero in.
I never said zero down.
We say, I meant zero in.
All right, zero in.
Zero in on as soon as the kids leave for school, I'm leaving for the gym too. And I was like, that's actually really good. Like, no excuses. Yep. See the kids put on their backpacks, you better have your gym clothes on, right?
Yep.
Not everyone has that luxury though. Like, you write your own schedule, you're your boss. So you can kind of train whenever you choose. But let's like kind of, what are like some things that you've done over the years that have helped? And how do you kind of lock that in?
Well, for me, what I've done is I have signed up for a half marathon and put that on the calendar, paid my $100 and said, you know what? It's in 6 months. And usually I wait about 5.5 months and I'm like, oh crap, I signed up for that race and I spent $100. Mm-hmm. I need to not waste money.
Right.
But you know, that's typically what happens, but no, the point I am trying to make. What is
your point? Because that's horrific advice.
No, I put it on the calendar because I need some type of like motivation to exercise.
Yeah.
And I have done some half marathons, and so I just put those, usually one on the calendar a year, and it gets me out the door when I don't want to. Mm-hmm. But then what are you going to say?
But then you have these ideas of like, for the next 10 days, I'm running 5 miles every day.
I know. So then I'll throw in some of those, sprinkle those in. But the sad thing is I literally will do 10, runs in a row that are 5 miles, and then I won't do anything for like 3 weeks. So I'd completely cancel out anything that I was like gaining.
Okay, the guy that wrote this in is genuinely looking for some good advice.
He's like, well, I shouldn't have even asked that.
Here's one of the things I do like to encourage people, and whatever. One of the things that I have learned about you is that you've been an athlete your entire life. Mm. Like, you were playing competitive sports on club teams at a young age, and have never really stopped. I mean, just recently you joined an outdoor soccer team too, adult outdoor soccer team. I know you love training.
We won't talk about that.
We won't talk about the knee injury, but
my growing, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I told you to warm up. But one of the things that I know is that you just don't like being out of shape. You don't like the feeling. The feeling
That's what
is literally what motivates you.
It is, yeah.
And I think because our kids are so active, both Isaiah and Mackenzie, you love being able to be active with them. And most of our trips and vacations, like, we like to go on walks. We like to get on a bike. Like, we like to go on hikes, and it just feels good. You know, you're not like hardcore trying to like win these half marathons. You just want to be able to feel good. And I think when you are someone that is maybe constantly finding yourself back in the same place of not being motivated, or you kind of jump on that wagon and you're like, yeah, we're doing well for a month or 6 weeks. I mean, this happens a lot at the beginning of year. You know, everyone makes those New Year's resolutions. And even if you don't like calling it that, you're like, this is the year of change and I'm going to do things different. We have these ideas in our mind of how it's going to play out. But yet we've never, maybe if you look back in your past, you can see a pattern that, it always kind of dwindles out after a month, or it always dwindles out after a couple months. And I think what you need to tackle is not so much the physical part of what you're doing, but how you're approaching it and the mental side of what you're doing. So a lot of times if we set ourselves up for these really high expectations, and I'm not even going to do like a physical goal right now, I'll do one that's like, maybe you told yourself, I'm not going to have sugar for the entire year. It's like cold turkey, no sugar. And then maybe you're really good at that. And then 6 weeks later, it's your daughter's second birthday party and everyone's having cake and you decide to lick the frosting and then that's it. Like, and then you get all down on yourself because you ruined that goal. And then you start to mentally beat yourself up. And then you're like, whatever, I already broke it anyway. So tomorrow I'm having a donut. And then it just it just begins to snowball, right?
I feel like you're literally telling like about what I've done.
I'm not.
I'm thinking back. I'm like, I think I did that before.
No, this is over 20 years of coaching and training, running my own fitness and running business. Like I have worked with so many people, and we have all kind of found our place of I'm just not motivated, or I just can't stick to this. And what ends up happening is we feel like that what we do has to be an all or nothing approach. Or what we feel like is when we step out of that routine, or we're not consistent for those 1 or 2 days, we mentally beat ourselves up. And then we just tell ourselves, well, this just isn't for me, or I'm not good enough, or it's not worth it, or there I go again, failing. And then we kind of find ourselves back in that pattern of being upset that we can't stick to a goal or being unmotivated. So I really believe that you first want to create like little micro goals for yourself. So look at the things that you can celebrate on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and then a monthly basis. And when you can achieve the small goals, it gives you confidence in the bigger goals. But also, I think that at the end of the day, the only failure you can ever have is just quitting. So it's okay. Like if you go totally fall off the horse for 1, 2, 3 days, like, yes, you can get back on. And humans aren't perfect. Nobody is perfect. And we all have those days where we don't feel great. But I think the goal is don't commit so hard to, I need to run this fast and this far. First, work on being committed in the first place. First, work on being disciplined. And that can be in little areas in your life. So for this question, what's a good way of making a guide run and train more? It's you need to sit down and write out what your goals are, because just running and training, like, what does that even mean? What are you doing in your current life right now? Do you have consistency and discipline where you're going to be able to do that each day? And then you start to build out what your training looks like. What does your running look like? And for many of us, we do feel like we don't have time. You know, I feel like a lot of, especially in America, we're overworked, we're overstretched. Even our kids are. I mean, it's like you meet kids, they're playing 3 sports, they got 4 AP classes, they got 2 tutors, and they're playing 4 instruments. And it's like, even our kids are stressed out. So it's very easy to feel stressed and overwhelmed and think this is just not the season. And so I think that anytime you set an exercise goal, a movement goal, it bleeds out into the rest of your life. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do.
I feel like when you're training consistently, like you are like happier, more energized, like that's just normal for a human, right? Mm-hmm. You feel like that you can parent better, you do your job better, like you're moving better, just physically moving better. So these a movement goal is so powerful in your life, is that it affects everything. And so I would encourage first to learn how to be consistent and disciplined in doing one thing. And so for 4 weeks, try your best at, maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to get up 20 to 30 minutes earlier than I usually do. And I wouldn't even put on yourself, and I'm going to run 3 miles as fast as I can, or I'm going to do HIIT every morning. Like, just see if you can actually get up earlier, maybe 3 to 5 days a week. See if you can consistently do that. And what you do with your time is totally up to you. You could do yoga. You could take the dog for a walk. You could just go for a walk and listen to a podcast, or just walk in silence and think about your day and think about your goals, or work through some life questions. Once you commit to that space, like that time, then turn that time into what you want it to be. But or you can keep it just as your quiet time. But what you're doing is you're proving to yourself that you can be consistent. You're proving to yourself that you can stick to a goal and that it's important. And then if I want to get completely direct as far as like the running and the training, I always encourage people to go slowly, to build patiently. It's very hard with social media when you have fitness influencers, you have well-seasoned athletes, and they're constantly posting their workouts, and they're just like jacked up and built, and they're doing these incredible races, and you feel like, I need to be there now. And the reality is that the way to be the best you and to really build up to your fittest self, you have to lay the groundwork, you have to lay the foundation, and that is the most patient phase of training, because it is unsexy stuff. Like, if I'm encouraging someone to be a better runner and they want to work on endurance, like the aerobic base building is, that's you're looking at heart rate training, you're working at running, slower than tempo runs and intervals and things like that. But building up that aerobic base is super powerful, and it's totally worth it. So write down your goals, figure out the steps that you're going to take to achieve those goals, figure out the exact time for each day that you're going to be training, and it could be different every single day. Tuesdays and Thursdays might be in the morning, Mondays and Wednesdays might be at night. But when you come up with a plan, when you plan your steps, you're setting yourself up for success no matter what that goal is. Boom.
That's a good answer, and I think I'm going to do what you said this week.
For the record, I have never coached Eddie.
Maybe you should.
I love being married to him, and I know well enough to not coach my spouse. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Works
we should try it out.
Not here.
We
You
haven't
are
tried
so
it.
stubborn.
We haven't tried it. Maybe it'll work.
No.
No? All right.
You are so stubborn. You would not want to do what I say.
Probably not. All right. Next question. This one says, can you talk about how you speak kindly to yourself when you feel like your hard work isn't showing up when it counts?
Oh man, that one's awesome. That's a point of frustration, I think, for all of us. Let's say that you pour yourself into the Chicago Marathon for 6 months, dedicated training, getting up early, making sacrifices by not doing, maybe staying out late on the weekends because you got to get up for that long run. You're tightening up the nutrition. And then race day comes, and mile 3, you twist your ankle, or you get the flu a couple days before. That is very disheartening. That's painful on a lot of different levels. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to feel like all that work for nothing. First and foremost, you have to tell yourself your work is never in vain. When you commit yourself, when you show up for yourself, you will use that for the rest of your life. You are teaching and educating yourself, your brain, that you can that you can stick to a goal, that you can focus on a goal, that you are capable of being disciplined and consistent, and that you are capable of doing the work that needs to be done in order to reach a goal. And the way that you grow, what you learn along the way, the journey many times is the best part of training for anything. Or when you're, studying for let's say a big test or a certification, the outcomes don't always end the way that we want them to, but your work is never in vain. And many times the work that you are doing is used for something even greater. And, I've talked about this a lot throughout my life when I've traveled around the world telling my story. If you get my book, Choose Strong, if you pay attention pretty closely to it, you can see how even as a child, there are certain traits and things that I was doing in my youth that have been tremendous tools that I use today as an adult, both in my career and just coping with obstacles and challenges while I'm racing. And I'm so grateful for that. I look back on how hard and committed I was to training and really showing up when I felt like I didn't have the opportunities that other people had. Learning to strength train when I was 16 years old and never veering off from that. I mean, all those things have just been stepping stones. I was laying the foundation for what I'm doing today. I never knew, I would have never thought that I would be a professional mountain and ultra runner. And, when I look back at my child, I'm like, wow, like I was getting an early start on that. And I think that is what's so exciting. And so when you have those times where you feel like, I have been committed, I have been putting in the hard work, I have been showing up for myself, and it is just not turning out the way I want it to, I want to encourage you, keep going. Because maybe that hard work is meant for something better. Maybe that hard work is for something down the road that you can't see yet, but is just going to blow your mind off because it's going to be better than anything you could have ever dreamed. So that is the way of every human life. I feel like the letdowns, the heartbreak, the losses, the failures, all those things, like they are a part of life for us. But when we can find the gold in those situations and we can still be hopeful and still continue on, you're going to use all that work for something even greater.
All right, next one. This one says, looking to sign up for my first ultra. How do you know which races to choose as a beginner?
That's really good. I chose a race, and there's just personal experience. I'm just going to answer this one. I chose American River 50 because half of it at the time, I think a lot of it still is like, it's considered a pretty fast 50-mile race, but the first half was on bike path. So the first 25 miles were on bike path, and then we transitioned onto the dirt, which it was smoother trails. It wasn't a ton of climbing. There's definitely some climbing in it, but not a ton. And I felt like for me, I ran a race in the same state that I live in, so in California, and I chose a terrain that was very similar to what I had already been training on. So I primarily trained on the road and the treadmill because my kids were so little. And I really wasn't able to get out on the trails like next to never. I actually never ran on trails before I ran that race. Part of it was fear, but the main reason was my kids were so young. They were, when I started training, they were 2 and like 9 months, or I can't even remember, but it was 2009. And then I ran it at my first race a few months into 2010. So I really think if you can first pick a race that one has been around for a while, I tend to tell people veer away from races. It's their first year doing it because a lot of times those first year races are still working out the kinks. They're still trying to figure things out. Aid stations, volunteers, markings, all of that stuff. Unless it's already like a race company, like Aravipa puts out so many races every year, but they're a seasoned race company. They know what they're doing. So that's different. But if it's someone that's their brand new first time ever putting on a race, I think you want to be a little bit careful, especially if it's the ultra distance. Like that more pertains to the ultra distance. So you want to be, make sure that those aid stations are where they need to be, and there's actually course markings and people helping and all that good stuff. So I would choose a seasoned race, and I would also choose a race that really parallels with your strengths. And that's what's so fun about ultra and trail running is if you're a really good climber and you love being in the mountains, choose a mountainous course that you're just going to fall in love with and that you're going to be enthusiastic about racing. If you are coming from the road, sometimes it's a lot easier to ease into trails by choosing a course that maybe doesn't have a lot of climbing, and maybe has like smoother fire roads and runs along a lake and, things like that. Stuff that's going to really allow you to get comfortable and ease into the scene. You don't need to just right away do a really difficult race on terrain that you've never been on and that you're not comfortable on. I really see ultras as being a journey, and that's an adventure. And that's like the best part is just find the things that get you excited. Find the things that are going to get you out of bed in the morning to train, because you just can't wait to get on that course. So I think that is really important. The next thing, look at the website and see how many aid stations that the race is offering. I'm surprised sometimes when aid stations have long races, 50 miles, 100K, and then you find out they only have, 3 aid stations. So for the most part, I'd say on average, ultras are going to have an aid station every 6 to 8 miles. Man, when you see those ones that are like every 4 to 5 miles, like that's luxury right there. But once aid stations are getting, 10, 15, 20 miles apart, pay attention to how many of those are in the race. So for 200s, that's very normal. To have aid stations, 12, 15, sometimes more than 20 miles apart. But like that's a different type of racing and your gear requirements are different and you're very well aware of that. But if you're brand new, look at where the aid stations are, make sure it's well supported, make sure that race has been in existence for more than a year, and really choose something that's going to get you excited. And as far as the distance goes, choose the distance you want to do, not what other people tell you to do. I meet people all the time who have never run a half marathon. They've never done a road marathon. They've never done a 50K, but there's something about the 50 mile that they just could not wait to try out. Or maybe if you want to just go right into the 100 mile, I think that you can do any distance you want as long as you train for it and you set yourself up for success.
Is that pretty popular? People just like jump to the 100 mile?
In the past couple of years, yes. When I first started this sport, it was very well known and communicated that you kind of start at the bottom of the ladder and work your way up. So, you kind of wanted to do a road marathon first to feel the 26 mile distance. And then, okay, let's ease onto the trails and do a 50K and then a 50 mile and a 100K. So I felt like when I came onto the trail scene and I jumped right into the 50 miler, I had quite a few people that were shocked by that. You've never done a 50K? I was like, no. A 50K is only 5 miles further than a marathon. Like that didn't excite me.
Yeah. Like
that didn't seem challenging to run 5 more miles. And for those of you that run a marathon, marathons are hard. Those are painful races on the hard road. And you've given everything, at the end of those. So yes, going 5 more miles, if you can think of that at the end of a road marathon, that is tough. But we're looking at, how much longer are you running actually for 5 more miles? Maybe it's 50 minutes, maybe it's 70 minutes. But I really wanted this big, huge goal that scared me in a sense. Like I've never gone that far.
All right. Speaking of ultra distances, this one asks, how do you get through the pain cave?
That's interesting. A lot of people have been asking me that question lately. And the pain cave was first coined by Lance Armstrong. This comes from the bike world, and I know it's a popular term. There's a lot of popular terms, and the pain cave is one of them. I'm a big word person, and I really cling on to certain phrases and verses and statements. And I really try to think about each word. And when I think of pain cave, I just think of hiding. And I actually gave this response to someone. I reposted it. A lot of other people reposted it. I think it resonated with so many people. And my response was, I don't have a pain cave. Caves are for hiding. When I'm in pain, I have a pain mountain that I'm fully exposed on. And when I'm on that mountain, I pray. And I've shared this many times, especially in this journey of 200s, that this idea of embracing the discomfort, embracing the pain that I'm in, I don't try to hide from it. I don't try to enclose myself and zero in on it. I just realize that I'm in it and that I'm stronger than it and I'm going to work through it and that at some point it's going to end. When I look back at Cocodona, and when I remember how intense that physical pain that I was in, I'd say it was the worst physical pain I've been in my career during a race. I realized that the only way that I was going to get to that finish line was by facing it. It wasn't hiding from it. It wasn't burrowing into it. It wasn't becoming someone else. It wasn't creating something else. It was just me in that pain. And I had to just be in it. And I had to work through it as best I can with all these people around me. You know, that's the other thing too. Like, you're surrounded by people at aid stations. You're with a pacer. You're with your crew chief and the crew. I mean, I had film guys on me. There was no hiding from that. I couldn't, really hide the fact that I was in this discomfort. And I think that for me personally, again, I've shared a lot of my story over the years, but I learned at a really young age that, one of the things that has probably hurt me over the years is when I am in a rough place or I am hurting, is turning inward and trying to hide and not wanting to accept that things hurt so bad, or not wanting to accept that a race is not going my way, and turning inward mentally and being upset about that and being resentful, or just thinking, oh, woe's me, like this is how things always turn out. And there had to be I had to come to a point in my life where I realized, yeah, this is hard. And I need just to admit this is hard and I don't want to be here, but I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to not keep going. And that's really how even the Choose Strong title came about for the book, for the podcast. Everything was, I was choosing to be strong. I was choosing strength over letting pain be the leader in my mind. I let strength be the leader and not that pain. And I know that pain can bring us to a place of growth too. I realize that in very physical ways, if you've ever given birth before, it's the worst pain ever. But what comes after that is the greatest joy, the greatest gift ever is a beautiful baby. So pain and beauty many times go hand in hand. And I don't ever want to hide from that. I'm actually going to share with you guys a little story that's in my next book in part 2 of my memoir series. When Isaiah was 3 years old, he's a very intuitive, really wise kid. He's funny, don't you think, Ed? I mean, since the time he was little, he's so brilliant. And he talked early and he would have conversations with adults. Like, we used to say he's like, we'd dress him up sometimes in little collar shirts and jeans. And I would just think he's literally like a little mayor, the way he connects with people. But he's very intuitive and sensitive and compassionate. He just has this natural compassion for people. And I remember even when he was very little, if I was having a bad day or a hard day, like he could like sense that. And he would come up to me, I love you so much, Mama. And he'd always just give me these kisses and he'd hug me. And just like, he has just been such a love and a joy in our lives. And when Isaiah was 3, he was playing outside with Mackenzie. And like little kids do, he had fallen and skinned his knee. Like, it was just the classic, like he came running inside and he had this little bloody knee. And so I picked him up and I put him on the kitchen counter. And I started cleaning up his little wound, and Mackenzie's waiting outside for him to come and play. And he wanted to get back outside and play, and I said, okay, I'm gonna put a Band-Aid on this. And he says, Mama, no, you can't put a Band-Aid on it. And I said, why not? He said, because God's trying to heal it. If you cover it up, God can't heal it. And it was one of those moments, and I remember this day so well because I was having a hard day. And I immediately got tears in my eyes when he said that. It was like these precious words that I needed to hear, because it is more natural to me, having grown up in the home that I did, to want to hide when I'm in pain, to want to cover that up and reject it or not let anybody see it or not want to admit it, not want to be in it. Like I just want to bury it away. And so I didn't put a Band-Aid on Isaiah, and I put him back down on the ground and he went running off back outside to go play with his sister. But, you know, that story is from 12 years ago. Isaiah's 15 now. I've never forgotten it. It's always impacted me. And I believe it's very wise words from the mouth of a child, that it's very easy when we are in pain, when we're in discomfort, when we're in a place that we don't want to be, to cover it up and to hide. And I said this line in that Cocodona Every Step Forward film, that there came a point, it was beyond 120 miles. I think I was like 150, 160 miles in at this point. But I just said I had to just embrace the pain and accept it and know that this is where I am right now, and that's okay, and I'm going to be okay. Mm-hmm. If we can get to a place as humans where we understand that pain is actually a part of our journey and that it will pop up and it will accompany us many times in our life. When we understand that and we are aware of it and we're still able to push forward in that time, when we tell ourselves, like, this hurts, this is hard, but I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep getting to that finish line, or I'm going to keep working toward this goal, or I'm going to keep living just in general. Not only are you strengthening yourself for future things down the road, but you're also encouraging and inspiring people around you. Because I'll tell you what, some of the toughest times in my life, when I just took a chance to share that with somebody, man, that's always where I found the most encouragement, or I realized I'm talking to someone who's been in the same place before, someone else that needs to hear what it is that I'm going through, or someone else that's been there before and says, you're going to be okay. And I'm going to sit here with you, or I'm going to walk, right next to you, and we're going to get through this together. So pain is really powerful. I don't have a cave. I have a pain mountain. And when I'm on it, I pray.
I like it. All right. We're going to lighten up the mood a little bit
now. Let's go.
How long is too long to carry a half-eaten quesadilla in your pack?
Wow. Okay.
That's a good one.
I carried a quesadilla in one of these 200-mile races. I want to say for a full 24 hours.
Is that?
It was from Tahoe when I was not able to get any calories down, and I was doing everything I could to get these couple slices of quesadilla down.
Yeah.
I think it grossed out Billy Yang quite a bit because he was pacing me a couple times, and it was like, we left mile 60 with them. Then when he picked me up at mile 100, I still had them.
Still had it. That's gross.
I think they were still in my pack at the finish line. Yeah. So gross. Yeah, you know what? When fresh food's available, go ahead and take it. You don't got to carry that disgusting, gross, greasy quesadilla the entire ride.
So your answer is it's not like you can have it as long as you want? Is that the answer?
I mean, when you're ultra running, there's a lot of gross things that we do, and one of them is keeping a quesadilla for a long time.
All right.
I have one that I'm going to counter that on the light note, and that is, do you have any routines for feet, ankle strengthening? And Brenna, yes, I do, and they are in my app under shin and ankle strengthening. I mean, it's a whole category that I have on that. The ankles and the shins, any lower leg stuff is a very common area that runners, endurance athletes have injuries and have problems. We've so often overlooked the foot and ankle, and it really connects to a load of reasons why people get injured. So I've put in several workouts in my app. They are there forever. Make sure you go and check those out.
All right. Got another one here. Okay. What advice can you give to people whose spouses don't run and how to share the dream?
Oh, wow. This is a great question. In fact, Eddie, I feel like that you need to answer this question because when I first started ultra running, you were not, I don't even think you'd even done a half marathon before.
I don't think so.
2009, 2010.
No.
And you were lifting a lot. You were so into P90X.
Oh, yeah, that's
oh my gosh,
right.
listeners, do you remember P90X?
P90X, that's right.
That was all the craze.
Yeah.
Like you sometimes would come home and we would do dinner, hang out as a family, and then you would go into the garage. Sometimes like at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you were so committed to that. You finished every round. How many times did you finish the 90 days? You did it several times.
I did a couple times, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, like I was saying earlier, it's one of those, if I get in a routine and like I don't want to skip it, right? Like if I've gone 48 days, I'm going the distance at that point, right?
I was so impressed.
Yeah.
So impressed. I'm always impressed by you, not just when you're doing P90X.
I know
but,
you are, yeah.
But I do feel
I think you were impressed with the muscle mass that I was gaining. Yeah.
You're hot, tight bod.
I was so buff. I don't know what happened, but
whatever. You're in good shape. I think the P90X, though, what is so nice is that you would flip that on and you didn't have to think about what to do next. I feel like
that's true.
Many times when people have hired me as a coach or just in strength training, the message often is, I just need someone to tell me what to do. Like I'm doing the same routine over and over, or I don't know what to do, or I'm just like too tired at the end of the day to think about the routine. And it was nice. You could just put the CDs into your laptop. Remember that?
The DVDs. Yeah. No, I definitely am that person because I mean, I have apps. I go to the gym and I follow along. Like I don't want to think about it. I just want to go in and do something that's, So yeah, I get it. So what advice can you give people whose spouses don't run and how to share the dream?
I mean, I think that's a question for both of us because we were in that for a little bit. I started in 2010. I didn't know how to do ultra running well, so I got a host of injuries that year. I think I did like 5 races or something like that, and didn't know how to recover. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I didn't know how to pace these things, and so I finished 2010 with a very intense IT band injury. I mean, I couldn't even run 100 yards without being in a lot of pain. But also our kids were so young. And at this time I had transitioned into a different job. And I just felt like, I don't think this ultra running's for me. Like it's just too much. The kids are little and it requires a lot of time. And deep down, I really loved it. Like I just felt like, I don't know. It was this immediate love, and I was really good at it. And so all those competitive juices of being a competitive athlete my whole life, realizing like I was in really good shape and I was kind of smashing these races and felt like, wow, this is amazing. But I had that mom guilt come in. I had so many other things that made me feel guilty and not great about myself. And I remember telling you, I'm not going to run anymore. I'm not going to do these anymore. And so I didn't run pretty much for almost all of 2011. And one night after dinner, you said to me, I never said that you shouldn't run anymore or discourage you to never run anymore. I think that we need to figure out how we can do that and balance out a real life and be there for our kids. And so that we had to have real conversations. I feel like that's one of the most powerful things.
Yeah. The communication, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel, trying to think of the best way to answer this from me, trying to support you as I wasn't a runner and you have this desire, this dream to, do something you love. And I think, for me, it was more of, okay, I recognize you love it. It excites you. You're good at it. Okay. How can we make our life work, but also make sure that there's time for you to do this. And, there's definitely a lot of communication, but I think for me, the other side of that was, just seeing you, happy and, you doing something that you love, like, it was really easy, I think, for me to support that. You know what I mean? If everything else we were doing in life with, the day-to-day stuff was getting done, It is one thing, I guess, if, someone's neglecting all of those things and pursuing their hobby or whatever, and everything else is like falls on someone else to cover it. That's a different like story, I think.
And
that's a
we've
little harder.
witnessed that before.
Yeah.
I think this is also coming down to this topic actually isn't about ultras.
Yeah, it's a little deeper than that, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
It when we are talking about just relationships, that's really what this is about.
Yeah.
How to be supportive of your spouse, partner, when one person is pursuing a goal and the other person maybe doesn't understand it, doesn't support it, isn't seeing eye to eye, is questioning why you're doing it in the first place. These things are very real. And I've gotten this message throughout my career. It's one I just get like every now and then. Mm-hmm. It's pretty common. I get it from women.
Yeah. Well,
it's pretty common. I get it from women who are like, yeah, my husband is just like, no, you're not running in the mountains, or I have mom guilt, and, or like my in-laws think I'm crazy. I mean,
yeah. So so say that, yeah, a woman is like loving it, getting into the ultra thing, and just wants to be out there all the time and has this dream to go to all these races, whatever. Has a spouse that is like, I don't support that. I'm not into that. I don't want you doing that. Like, how would you, like, what would you do? I guess if you're in that situation, what would you do to like help the spouse see like your side?
Yeah. I actually coached somebody for a while that was in that position. So the in-laws were like, you have little kids. We just think this is crazy, like that you're training for this 50-mile race. And that was really difficult for her. And then her husband was he was kind of like back and forth. It was like, he was okay with it to a degree. Once those long runs were getting like 3-4 hours, he was like, dude, seriously. And I like to look at people's situations from all perspectives. Like, I want to put myself in the in-laws, in their shoes, in the husband's shoes. Like, and I feel like we've kind of touched on all those areas, just even in our own marriage. And, the short answer is it's more, the response is more complicated. Like, there is no like one perfect answer, because when you're dealing with relationships, you're dealing with two unique people.
Yep.
And I think that so often we forget that. It's so easy to look at other people's relationship and just think, they're so amazing. Why can't our relationship be like that? It's like, well, you're not her and he's not him.
Yeah.
And you actually don't know the full spectrum of their everyday life, what kind of people they are and how they tick and how they get along and the things that they struggle with. Every single good relationship is going to have its hard seasons. There's going to be fights. There's going to be, because we're imperfect people.
Yeah.
And we need to remember that. And so I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing when you're met with someone being not supportive of you. Many times it's because they don't understand. They don't understand the sport, for one. They might not understand your heart and really the angle of why you're doing it in the first place. And I think that family is sometimes the hardest, out of friends and strangers and people on social media. You might feel like, gosh, people on social media and my friends support me way more than my family does. Well, we also have to remember that our family, there's history there, and they see maybe our patterns and the ins and outs of who we are. And then also as family, we can get selfish. We get selfish with, but I want you there. I want you to be there for me. And I want you to do what I want you to do. And I don't want you to miss stuff. And family's really good at projecting fears. I think we do that as parents, especially when our kids grow into teens. We just like, please don't make the mistakes that I made. And please don't miss out on the opportunities that I wish I would have taken. And so we try to like control and conform our kids because we're generally operating in fear of them repeating maybe mistakes that we had. And none of those things are healthy, right? So when it comes down to, and I don't even think in ultras, I think when you are trying to tackle this situation in your relationship, that's really what it comes down to. Communication is the most important part.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes you need to sit down and have the uncomfortable conversation in order to get to a better place. And I really believe, and I don't know what everyone's situation is because some people aren't in the best relationships.
Right.
You know, it's easy. You know, I'm sitting across from you and I'm like, you've been my best friend since I was 18. Like, we've known each other for more than half our lives. So it's maybe easy to share a lot of things that we do. We've been through every season together. And I know in my heart of hearts, like, that you love me no matter what. That doesn't mean that we haven't had hard years and arguments and not seeing eye to eye. It's just that we've stuck through that. But I think communication has been at the root of all of it. And so you first have to look at the relationship that you're in. Are you with somebody that you can sit down with and share your dreams and share what you love, what you're passionate about? And are you at a place where you can say, hey, I really want to try this. Would you be willing to support me? This is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to take. And I know it's going to be hard and it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes. And I'm not going to have perfect balance all the time, but I would love for you to just journey with me. And I need your support because I love you.
Yeah.
Many times when we approach people that way, like, I need you on this journey. I don't want to isolate you from this journey. And many times that's where the trouble comes in. It's like, well, I want to do this. You're not supporting me. So I'm going to isolate you from everything that I'm doing. And we're not going to share in this joy. And that many times can cause a massive gap in the relationship. That can hurt the relationship even more. Mm-hmm. But I think, humbling ourselves, have the hard conversation with hopes of getting to a better place. I mean, that is, I'd say, the best way to approach it. And as always, I always hope that the person that asks this is surrounded by people that love them and don't doubt that love. I think sometimes we think, conditional love says, if you love me, then you'll do what I say. That's conditional love. That's not real love. So sometimes people are going to push back against you because they do love you unconditionally. Like, they do want what's best for you. And sometimes they do need help in understanding things. It's not because they don't love you. They just need to get to a better place where they can come alongside you and support you and understand you. So sometimes those conversations are going to be a little tough in the beginning, but yeah. Yeah.
Good. Next question. What time is it? Because how much time do we have left?
I'll tell you what time it is.
I think we got enough time for,
we do.
For
we
another.
Have like 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one says,
actually, on that note, that's so funny because it's like, I'm taking Mackenzie to sports PT and you're doing soccer with Isaiah. Like, this is like literally why this podcast is going to end. Yes, so we have 15 minutes left.
So this one says, I was wondering if you maybe could bring up the mental issues that might arrive after a long race. I've often feel almost depressed after a long race for a few days, feeling very empty.
Oh, wow. This is a common feeling. It is, I like to call it race blues. Just to kind of summarize what Eddie was just asking, some people will feel a little down after a big race. We even hear about this after people get married. Like, you lead up for 9 months, a year, or however, your whole world is planning. What does that look on your face?
I'm like,
I always know when you're going to say something silly or absurd.
It's not silly.
Just say it.
No, as you were saying race blues, I was literally like in my mind, like, what the heck is that? I've never experienced that. And I'm like trying to I was like listening, like, okay,
because
what is this?
You go the other way.
Like,
you are so happy the race is over, and you're like,
stoked.
I am never doing that again.
I have
Where's my breakfast burrito?
I have another year. I am good. So I've never had the race blues. So fill me in on what that is.
Yeah, it's really similar to like anything that you have been working toward and building up toward for a long time. So you have shaped your life around this goal. You've shaped your life around this race. So every week you had specific training you needed to get in. On the weekends, you're getting that long run in, and maybe there were some sacrifices you were making on the weekends. Like, you weren't going to brunch with friends because you were doing a long run. You spent months carving out this goal that you wanted to achieve. And then you stood at that start line. You had that race experience. You crossed that finish line. And then you woke up the next morning after being so elated the day before and feeling a little lost, feeling like, wait, I achieved that goal. Starting Monday morning, I don't have any structured training. It's almost like you've lost that direction. You've lost that structure, that focus, because all of that was around the race that you had been planning to run, the race that you just completed. So this is very real. And as I was saying earlier, we see brides have the wedding blues. And they spend so much time planning every single tiny little detail. It's the most, and you know, for some people, they dream of getting married and having a dream wedding. I mean, when it finally happens and then it's over, you realize, wow, it's not a part of my life anymore. It's no longer a focus.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it can become the main point of conversation when people are talking to you. It can become a part of who you are. And then you feel a little lost without it.
Yeah.
So first, I just want to acknowledge that feeling and say there is nothing wrong with that at all. If anything, it's showing you what it meant to you, that it was something that was important and precious for you. And I always encourage people, instead of just rushing in and signing up for another race, now make your focus the recovery season, the recovery period, and really enjoy and celebrate that, because that is often one of the most missed parts of training for a race is, and it's even a joke sometimes, like you cross the finish line and then you're already on, sports.com, running.com, runnersworld.com, or ultrasignup.com, and you're looking for a race.
So that's what I was going to ask. Is that what people do? Like they have those, like that super high, and they're like, all right, I need to get that again. So I need to sign up.
Yeah. It's the constant pull for, those endorphins, right? Yeah. I mean, it's that high. We want to experience that again. And
that's why they always send those emails like the next morning. Sign up for like $100 off or whatever, right? They try to get you in that moment. Now I see what they're doing.
It now. I know. It's a great marketing strategy. Marketing, it's like we appeal to emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions, when you appeal to people's emotions and feelings, it is one of the best ways to sell anything. And so, you get the marketing email, you typically within that week after the race, when it's still fresh on your mind, you still had those feelings and you want those feelings again. And so you sign up for the race again.
Yeah.
But I really believe before you run the race, have it out on your calendar that you're going to take, really dependent on what the distance was, but maybe you're taking a 1 week, a 2 week, a 3 week recovery period. And within a recovery period, it isn't just about recovering physically, it's about recovering mentally. You want to give your body a break from that rigid schedule. You want to allow your body to rest, and then maybe set up different activities that you didn't do because you were just training for that race. So when my off season is coming up after Moab, which I'm very excited about. My entire family celebrates too.
Yeah. Yep.
But I love using the off season. I don't just lay around like a lump on a log, because I'm naturally, since the time I was a little girl, I'm incredibly active and I have a lot of energy. So, but I love the idea of scheduling, like, okay, I'm going to go stand up paddling with friends. I'm going to get on a bike ride. We're going to plan some bike rides as a family, or go on walks or go on hikes. Like, I think it's good to allow yourself just to do other things that you love. And it could be even things like, working on writing a book, or painting, or cooking. Like, allow the recovery period. What are you going to say?
Or rosé all day.
Rosé all day.
Do that during training, right?
Yeah. Taco Tuesday every day. Yeah. Something like that. But allow yourself to settle into each phase of training. in these race cycles. So you have your building phase, you have your speed phase, you have your hill training phase, then you race, and then you now have your recovery phase. So what are you going to do during that recovery phase? And take heart knowing that your recovery is also gets you enthusiastic. It gets you excited about the next goal, the next race ahead. So it isn't necessarily that you need to go and sign up for a race again. You need to take care of yourself, take care of all the other things in your life that maybe didn't get as much attention. I really love my off season to use as a time to catch up with friends and to just spend more time with people than I usually have, allotted in my calendar. I think that's incredibly important. So, race blues are very real. Get out, continue to get outside, connect with people, keep moving your body, and know that it is definitely a part of the journey. And of course, yes, there's more races on the horizon. So, but allow yourself to rest in that recovery period after a race. Also, eat a lot of donuts.
Ooh, yeah. Yep. All right. Well. What do you think?
We got one more.
We got another one?
We
Okay.
do. We got one more.
Right.
We got one more in us.
Let's do another one. All right, last one. Have you second guessed or regretted your decisions to sign up for the 200s?
Not at all. Not for a single second. It really has been a wild adventure. I actually posted this just the other day. This has been a wild adventure so far. I cannot wait to see how this chapter ends. And I really do mean that. We have Moab 240 coming up on October 13th. We are roughly 22, 21 days away from that race date. And one of the reasons why I signed up for 4 200s this year was because I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I wanted to see what I was capable of. I wanted to see what the human body is able to endure. And yes, there has been a lot of enduring. There has been a lot of growing, a lot of learning. And I've really loved sharing the journey with everyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, this has been really fun. From our YouTube channel to these podcasts to the posts. I mean, it's been really fun to not only talk about the 200-mile journey just as in, I love challenging myself and having just all this time in the mountains. I mean, 200, 240, 250 miles in the mountains. That's so much fun for me. But then taking these races and paralleling them with life and telling the stories of real life around that. That's been so exciting. So I don't regret it for a second. And I think that I'll always, as the years click on in my career, I love that each year there's something signature about each year. I have the same goal every year for myself as an athlete, and that's I want to be better than I was last year. Mm-hmm. I want to be courageous. I always want to be trying new things. I always want to be better, and I don't ever want to look back at my career and ask myself, I wish I would have tried that, or why didn't I do that? So I'm very happy that I signed up for these 200s. I've had a lot of fun prepping for them and learning about myself in them and just sharing that with people. But I hope that you guys will follow along as we prepare for Moab 240. Of course, the world's best crew chief is going to be out there, my very own Eddie McRae. We got Tyler and Drew who will be out there filming. We will be doing a Moab 240 film, which will come out at the end of the year, so around the holidays. So in total, we will have 3 films about this year. And then we have some amazing pacers who will be joining us, which I will announce later on, but very excited to share the trails with them. We just have a lot to look forward to because this is the last race in the Grand Slam series. So I guess I'm kind of also doing the Triple Crown too alongside it. So the Triple Crown is just the destination trail races. The Grand Slam is when you add on Cocodona 250 to that. So we got Cocodona 250, Tahoe 200, Bigfoot 200, and now Moab 240 is the last one. And that's almost, I guess when all is said and done, it's almost 1,000 miles of racing this year. Pretty cool.
That is really cool. Yep.
Yeah. Eddie, is there anything you regret about me signing up for these races?
That wasn't the question.
Oh my gosh.
You said we only had like 15 minutes before this question, so. I don't have time.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are going to do another Q&A episode. We'll always kind of weave these into our order of episodes. But Eddie, thank you for being here. I know that people love hearing your voice. And
you know what? It's fun to be on. I'm not going to lie.
It is. I have so much fun with you too. And we just want to say again, thank you so much for being here with us today. We hope that you were able to gather a little bit of gold from today's episode. We were just sitting here envisioning you with us at the table. As I'm sitting across looking at Eddie right now, I'm envisioning our Choose Strong community all around us as well. You guys, we consider you friends. We are glad that you are here, and we look forward to maybe meeting some of you guys in the community as we go to these races and these events. But know that we are cheering for you in all that you are working toward, not just in running, in everything that you do in life. And we hope that we really do hope that you believe in the strength inside you. And we want to encourage you each and every day to keep choosing strong.